A Closer Look at Australia by Caitlin, Emma, Amy, and Tasha. A glimpse of the past and present. When Europeans settled in Australia, kangaroo was a staple in their diet. In 1807, the first bale of wool was sent to England from the Elizabeth Farm. In the 1840s to 1950s, wool production was a major industry. Prior to the 1900s, Australia was a leader in exporting of fine foods, meats, and grains. In 1901 to 2009, the number of people employed in agriculture declined from 14% to 3%. The sugarcane industry was established around 1860 and didn't become fully mechanized until the 1960s. This picture is of the Elizabeth Farm, owned by John and Elizabeth MacArthur. They were the proud producers of the first wool bale exported. Some fun facts about Australia are Australia is both a continent and a country. It is surrounded by the Pacific and Indian Oceans. The island contains approximately 2.97 million miles of land. No part of Australia is more than 621 miles from the ocean. It is home to the world's largest cattle ranch, which is in Anna Creek Station. And Tasmania, a detached island of Australia, has the cleanest air in the world. The three main leading agricultural outputs are meat, wheat, and beef. Beef is the leading output of agricultural production with 17.5%. The top exports and their customers are beef and beef products, which is the United States, Japan, South Korea, China, and Indonesia. Wheat, which is from Indonesia, Vietnam, China, South Korea, Malaysia, and Iran. Intermediate products like shorn wool, malt, and gluten come from Thailand, Italy, New Zealand, and the Philippines. Meat producers like sheep cuts, horse, and camel have the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Hong Kong, and the United Kingdom. Dairy products have Singapore, Sri Lanka, Kuwait, Russia, Japan, and China. Top imports and the sources. Prepared foods comes from Singapore, New Zealand, United States, Thailand, China, and Italy. Forest products, China, New Zealand, Malaysia, Chile, France, Germany, and Canada. Fish products, Norway, Denmark, Vietnam, China, Thailand, and Malaysia. Wine and beer, France, Mexico, Italy, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, and Sweden. Dairy products, United States, Australia, Greece, Norway, France, Italy, and New Zealand. Trade relationships with the U.S. U.S. exports are pork and pork products, which is 181,117,000. Dairy products, 173,137,000. Prepared foods, 164,635,000. Fresh fruits, 128,404,000. Tree nuts, 108,389,000. U.S. imports are red meats, which is 2,652,474,000. Wine and beer, 4,051,836,000. Tree nuts, 74,034,000. Other customer products, 70,807,000, and other dairy products, which is 59,437,000. The U.S. and Australia have a free trade agreement that removes import tariffs, and Australia is the 9th largest export market for the U.S. The U.S. is the 2nd largest supplier of consumer-oriented food products to the Australian market. Economical significance of Australia. The percent of the labor force employed in agriculture in Australia is 3.6%. In the U.S. it is 0.7%. Agriculture's contribution to gross domestic product in Australia is 3.7% and in the U.S. is 1.6%. Arable land per capita in Australia is 2% and in the U.S. is 0.48%. Chicken consumption, Australia versus the United States. In Australia, a chicken has become a staple part of the diet over the last 40 years. In 1969 to 2010, per capita consumption has risen from 10.5 kilograms to over 43.9 kilograms. The retail price of chicken remains relatively steady compared to other meats. In the United States, since the 1940s, chicken consumption has increased significantly. The consumption of chicken is higher than beef or pork, but less than the total red meat consumption. 18% of total poultry produced is exported. The retail prices vary considerably based on currency fluctuations, trade negotiations, and the economy. Crop production on an Australian farm. The main crop produced is wheat, which is 56.9% of farms, and it is heavily produced in Western Australia. Most of the wheat produced ends up being exported when it comes to consumption. Export locations are Indonesia, South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, and Iran. Challenges of crop production on an Australian farm are climate changes, prices, and annual rates increasing. Livestock production on an Australian farm. Beef cattle is the main livestock produced with 20.3% of all farms. Approximately 33 kilograms of beef is consumed per person per year. Export locations include United States with 41% of exports and Japan with 37.4% of exports. The challenges of livestock production is pasture management because of dry conditions and water management. Watering points must be relatively close together. And now you know more about Australia.